not going to get a second chance in the game.
Jim McKee speaking last year's clinic, and the first thing Coach said was, any chance you get to speak and promote your program, do so, and thank as many people as possible. So to that end, here are my thank yous. I'd like to start with thanking the administration team at Champaign Central. Since my hire in April, I've gotten nothing but great support from this group of people, and I can tell that they're clearly looking forward to putting out a great product on the field, and it shows by the support I get. I'd like to include John Woods in that. John Woods was the athletic director that actually hired me, but prior to the season start, John took a position somewhere else, but he was instrumental in getting me in here, so I'd like to thank John Woods as well. I'd like to thank the teaching staff at Central. I've watched a group of teachers go above and beyond in an effort to support our students here at Central, and particularly our student athletes, so I'd like to thank that group as well. I'd like to thank my assistant coaches. As you all know, head coaches are nothing without great assistant coaches, and we're only as good as our assistant coaches. And I feel like this season I was decent, and only because of my assistant coaches. So I'd like to thank those guys, Charlie Dew, Josh Lindstrom, Kyle Jackson, Jamal Montuka, Lavelle Mabels, LeConte Nix, and Tristan Rivera. I know I'm a little biased, but I think I have the best group of assistants in the state of Illinois, so I'd like to thank those guys. I'd like to thank my players, families, and the whole community. You know, one of the greatest things about high school sports is the way it can galvanize the entire community, and we really were able to start to experience that a little bit as we began to have a little success and as the community kind of rallied behind us, and you know, that's a great feeling to have, and so I'd like to thank that group, my players as well. Those guys do everything that they're asked to do with very little rebuttal, so it really makes coaching this group very special because of the attitudes that they have. I'd like to thank my family. You guys know that us coaches, you know, it is a labor of love, and sometimes it is we are working more than we are with our family. Sometimes we are clinicking more than we are with our family. Sometimes we spend more time with one another than we do with our family. But in order to be able to do that and stay solid, I think you have to have a great support staff, and I have a great support system with my family, and so I'd like to thank them for that. I'd like to thank Coach Larry Allball and Nate Allball and the entire Chief Pigskin family. Guys, I'm telling you, I truly believe that in the very near future, this is going to be the way that most people do their clinics online, and I am proud to be on the ground floor of this thing, so I'd like to thank them for that. Here's a little brief history of our school. Champaign High School has been playing football since 1894. So the team that I'm going to field this fall will be the 126th team that Champaign High School has fielded, and I think that's a pretty impressive stat there. You know, our high school is the first high school in the nation to win 1,000 basketball games and 500 football games. So that just speaks to the longevity as well as success athletically. We play in the Big 12 Conference. The Big 12 Conference, in my opinion, is maybe the best conference downstate Illinois. Traditionally, teams that come out of the Big 12 Conference usually do some work in the state playoffs. I'm a proud member of the Big 12 Conference. We are a Class 5A football team, which means we have a student population of about 1,275, somewhere around there, from 9th graders to 12th graders. So, you know, for a school that has had 126 years of football, there's obviously a lot of coaching turnover. But the truth here at Central, early on, there wasn't much coaching turnover. There were a few coaches that had some quite long tenures at Central. In fact, the last guy, Tommy Stewart, who our field house is named for and the field that we play on is named for, Tommy Stewart coached here at Central for 35 years or so. So there was definitely some stability while those guys were here. And then, you know, as of recently, things kind of changed a little bit. There'd been a little bit of a coaching carousel. There had been 4 different coaches in a span of 10 years. During that time, 8 of those were losing seasons. So, you know, things kind of started to change a little bit. Then Nate Allball came in and brought a little bit of stability to the program. Nate brought in the Wing-T offensive system for us to run. In the past, we had ran, a hodgepodge of different offensive schemes. It seemed like whatever offensive scheme beat us the previous week, that's the scheme we were running. Nate came and brought that Wing-T with him, and he was pretty stubborn about how we were going to run that thing. And I think that was one of the reasons we were able to change things around during the time that he was here. When Nate left, he left me with a very healthy program. I think sometimes when people take over their first head coaching job, that head coaching job is kind of in shambles. There's some things to clean up. There's things to do. Now, while yes, there was plenty to do, my program was pretty healthy when it left. So, I just had to figure out how to galvanize the entire team, bring everybody together for my vision. So, I appreciate Nate leaving a healthy program. As I said, I took over this year. It was my first year as a head coach. So just to give you a brief history about some of my coaching experiences. I started coaching youth football. I started when my son was in the 6th grade, and it really just kind of was me hanging out with my son. I was taking him to practice, and I would stay at those practices. And before I knew it, coach came over and he said, "Hey, Mr. Turner, do you mind holding this bag?" And that kind of changed from "Would you hold this bag?" to "Can you help run this drill?" And that went from helping run this drill to "Coach, could you maybe run the drill yourself?" And so throughout the course of that year, it just kind of went on, and before you knew it, I was an assistant coach on that team. The following year, my son was moving on. He was going to be now on the varsity football team, but this team didn't have a coach. It was the varsity Broncos. They didn't have a coach that year, and so I thought, I'll go ahead and do it. I was just like I'm sure many other dads are, and I thought, well, heck, I've played football before. I've watched football before. Of course I can coach this team. It's just youth football. And guys, I'm telling you, it wasn't long before I realized, oh no, I'm wrong. I don't know a thing about football. So it started to be a situation where I had to go out and seek some knowledge. I felt like if I was going to coach these young men, that I needed to coach them to the best of my ability. So I got out, started seeking some knowledge, started to go through a few clinics, and I'm telling you, I got hooked. Started speaking the language with other coaches, starting to hang around, with other coaches, and it really kind of took me in, and I was hooked. So I really started to get serious about it in about 2002, 2003, and I was still the Broncos coach at that time. So I had coached the Broncos for 5 years. Hadn't heard from any of the high school coaches, and then a guy by the name of Dave Jacobs, who, by the way, is a 2019 Hall of Fame inductee here in the state of Illinois. Dave came in and took over at Central, and when he took over, he gave me a call knowing that most of the kids from my Broncos team kind of fed into Central. And just wanted to sit down, touch base a little bit, and see if we couldn't maybe marry some terminologies, marry some of the things that what we were doing in the youth program to what they were doing on the high school level, so that when the kids came over, they were more prepared. And I thought that was great. In fact, the thing that I was coaching those young men for was to get them ready for high school, and it just made it a lot easier when I had one of the high school coaches reach out to me. So I began being around Dave's staff, going to a few of their staff meetings, learning their lingo, listening, being around their practices and different things like that. And it really brought me closer to the game. It really fired me up to try to get some of this knowledge, because it's a great sport. I already knew that. I already knew football was great. But once I got into it, once I started to learn and seek some of that knowledge, it really kind of took me in. So in 2005. Dave called and we got together a little bit, and then the following year we got to know each other a little bit better, and he asked me to come over and be his freshman head coach. I came over a little bit reluctantly because I was still coaching my Broncos, but I thought, here's an opportunity, and if I'm being asked to do this, I obviously in his eyes have something to offer. So I went ahead and did it, and I joined the staff as the freshman head coach, and I've been at Central now since then. So since 2006, I've been at Central. I've had several different positions on staff. Like I said, I was the freshman head coach. I've been the running backs coach. I've been the defensive line coach. I've been the defensive backs coach. I've been linebackers coach, special teams coordinator, defensive coordinator. I've held several positions at Central, but most of them were on the defensive side of the ball. I had not did a lot of offense at all. So this year, when I took over as the head coach, I also took over as the offensive coordinator. And so, doing so, I realized that, I hadn't had much offensive knowledge. Most of my knowledge was on the defensive side of the ball. So there were a few things that I needed to do in order to prepare myself to be an offensive play caller. So I had to decide, who do I want us to be offensively? In the past, I've always just relied on the head coach or the offensive coordinator to set up the offense, and my thing was defense. I didn't really care what they were doing offensively. I just thought, hey, I need you guys to score some points and we'll make some stops and win the game. That's kind of how I thought about the thing. But when I took over as the head coach and the play caller, I realized I needed to do some things, some work on me to figure out exactly what we wanted to do. I knew we were already comfortable with the wing T. My coaching staff, I had a lot of the coaches retained from the previous year, so my coaching staff was solid with teaching the wing T. Most of the kids in my program I had a lot of returners, so they were comfortable with the wing T already. But I needed to establish my offensive identity. I needed to put my spin on this offense. And, I wasn't sure if wing T was what it was that I wanted to do. I knew that I needed to decide what was the philosophy I wanted to go by offensively. And so it just kind of made me have a few thoughts. And through those thoughts, here are some of the things I'll share with you. I knew I wanted to be a series-oriented offense. I knew I wanted to have the ability to have my guys on the line of scrimmage, have a call made, and if that's a bad play, then be able to check out of that play into something totally different based on whatever series we were in. I knew I wanted to do that. Next thing I knew I wanted to be a run-based offense. For me, I think one of the toughest things in high school sports to do is to throw that ball. So many things have to go well in order to make that play go, and so many people have to not make mistakes in order to make that play go. So I knew I wanted to be a run-first offensive team. So, as I go through that philosophy a little bit, I realize, all right, then I need to be able to ask some questions of the defense to decide exactly what we're going to play. So for a few questions that I have that I want to ask the defense to decide what plays I want to run are, first, are we stronger than you? Are we tougher than you? If we're stronger or tougher than you, I want a few plays in my system to be able to exploit that. Next question is, are we faster than you? Can we beat you to the edge? Because if my guys can beat you to the edge, then I wanted a few plays in my playbook that could exploit that as well. Third question is, can we fool you? I think the essence of a good offense is the element of deception. And if you get good at that, you can run some of the same plays over and over and over again, but just disguise them differently. I think you're playing some pretty good offense at that time. And that was one of the questions. The last question was, should we pass? As I said, I know passing the ball I feel passing the ball is one of the most difficult things to do in high school sports. But if that's what the defense presents, if that's the only thing the defense presents us, then we need to be able to attack that as well. So those four questions came about as to those are the questions that I'm going to ask as I'm putting this offense together, as I'm putting my offensive philosophy together. Took a little bit of time, had a few conversations with the staff that I had coming back, had a few conversations with a few coaches that I know from the coaching community, and ultimately it all kind of boiled down to, what are we all comfortable with? And so, as I thought through that and figured out what we're all comfortable with, I landed on and decided we're going to stick with the wing T. But the little flair that I was going to put on it, my flavor to it that I was going to put on it is, we're going to base out of unbalanced, right? We're going to base out of a tackle over unbalanced, and that's how we're going to run our wing T. So this season, running unbalanced wing T, we gained over 3,000 yards of rushing. My guys rushed for 6.5, 7 yards per carry. We averaged 35 points a game, won 6 games, and made the playoffs for the first time in 3 years, which I'm extremely proud of. So, as I go through these numbers, no, these are not earth-shattering numbers. These are not record-breaking numbers, but they are pretty decent numbers, and it kind of shows to the success of this offense when you're able to put up those kind of numbers. Had one back rush for 1,050 yards. Had another back rush for nearly 900 yards. I had another back rush for 600 yards. So, we distributed the ball around a lot and had a great deal of success running this offense. So just a quick overview of how we line up our offense. Again, nothing's much different than what everybody does in the wing T. I just want to talk through it a little bit as to how we're looking at our guys. Quarterback. Our quarterback needs to be the coach on the field. He has to be able to get us out of bad plays. If we have a bad play call in, our quarterback has to be able to get us out of those bad plays. A couple of things we're asking for from our quarterback is he must be great at fakes and he must be a great blocker. I know when I say I want my quarterback to be a great blocker, I know some football heads, you guys are out there cringing a little bit, thinking of the quarterback being the blocker. But the way we used our quarterback as a blocker we used him in a couple of different fashions. One, I wanted him to be a blocker sometime because I want my whole team to value blocking. I wanted my whole team to understand that if we are great at fakes, if we're great at blocks, then we have an opportunity to be great at offense. And my thought process behind that is if I could get my quarterback to lead block on a few plays and to buy into blocking, that it would make it a little easier to get everybody else to buy in. And I got to be honest, the quarterback that I had this season was a tough SOB, so it was very easy to get him out there blocking. But when he was able to make some of those blocks, it really kind of fired up the rest of the group. And now, I've got guards that are blocking a little bit harder, that are moving the crowd a little bit more because they've seen our quarterback block. So, I think if given the opportunity, there are some plays that you must get that quarterback out there to block a little bit to show a little bit of toughness. The next player we have on our field is our B-back. I've heard people call him the tailback sometime. He's the feature back, the one back behind our quarterback. He's got to be a great runner, but again, he needs to be great at fakes and great at blocks. A lot of the times, he's going to take the pressure off of us stretching the field by his dive plays, and if he's able to show a great fake in there and take a few guys with him, it makes our stretch plays work a little bit better. Our F and our Z, again, we're a double wing team, so our F and our Z, those are the wings, and they're kind of interchangeable. Those two players, a player that plays F for us could also play Z for us. The only thing that changes is how we call the motions and a few of the plays that we run to them. And that's simply because throughout the course of the year, we understood that one of our wing backs ran a particular play better than one of the other wing backs. And so, if one wing back runs a play particularly better than the other, then we would just stick with that guy that ran it well. So that's how we kind of use those wing backs. Again, they must be great at fakes and they must be great at blocking. I'm sure you guys hear a theme here, but the truth of it, guys, we tell our guys to pay it forward. Make sure that you are faking and blocking just as hard as when you're running the ball if you want another opportunity to run the ball. That's the way you earn opportunities to run the ball, is by fakes and blocking. And by the time we pounded on that for the entire season, our guys got pretty good at it. The other skill position on our offense is our X. Our X is usually the receiver. Our X we usually send with our power tackle. So he's usually the guy on the same side as the unbalanced side. So for us, our X, he's got to be a ball. He's got to be a ball catcher. But truth of it, we need him to be more of a blocker. And so, again, he falls right along into the same pattern as we tell the rest of the players. If you want any opportunity to catch balls, we're going to need you to be a great blocker. Then talk line position a little bit. Again, we went tackle over. So we have power tackle. Our power tackle, we hope to be our strongest guy. The strongest guy on our field, the strongest guy on our team that can still move, we want that guy to be our power tackle. Then next to our power tackle, we have a strong tackle. We kind of label him as the second strongest player on our team that can still move. I'm going to talk still move because as I'll show you when we talk a little bit of film, as I show you when we watch a little bit of film, our power tackle and our strong tackle most often are pulling when we run our counters and things like that. And it really became effective having those guys to be able to do that. And so I highly suggest that if you're going to go tackle over unbalanced, that tackle over and both tackles be athletic. Don't just put guys out there that are big. I think, and you know, I'm sure I'm going to get guys blast me on this, but I think our sport, especially high school sport here in the state of Illinois, is kind of going away from the days where you just got the big boys out there just because they're big. Sure, they can play football. Nowadays you're seeing more and more athletic linemen that are able to get out and run, athletic linemen that are able to jump, and they're fast, and you know, so it's a different breed of athlete that we're putting out there now, and I love the trend. So back to these positions. Again, we have power tackle, strong tackle, then we got our strong guard. We say that he's our most athletic guy because he's the guy that is our kick out block most of the time. So, you know, oftentimes we need him to be able to see that kick out block and be able to understand where that guy's moving and be able to be athletic enough to cut that block off if need be. So that's why we ask him to be the second most athletic guy. And then we have our center. He's got to be smart. Our center makes a lot of our line calls and adjustments and things like that, so our center's got to be pretty smart. Then we've got our backside guard. We ask him to be the most athletic because he's pulling cross court sometimes, and so he's going to have to be the most athletic lineman that you have. Again, guys, I beg you to consider using some of your best athletes on the line as opposed to just big guys, especially with the wing-T. Wing-T creates some great angles and blockings that allows you to use smaller players sometimes. And the last lineman that we use is our Y. Our Y has to be a great blocker, and he has to have great hands. Most often when we pass the ball, our passes were going to our Y. So he's got to have some great hands. So the question became, why tackle over unbalanced? You know, there's several reasons why, and I'll kind of share some of those with you. First, obviously, to confuse our opponents. You know, the tackle over look looks like a normal 3-man and 2-man surface, but the extra lineman causes a huge conflict for a lot of teams. Then, if our opponent doesn't shift, then we already outnumber them to the unbalanced side, giving us a great advantage. You know, and then let's say our opponent does shift. When our opponent does shift, now they're out of position and likely uncomfortable with playing these positions that they haven't played before. Changes the angles for them. It changes where they have to attack, and really causing some confusion for a lot of offenses. And then the unbalanced look gives the impression that we favor one side when in fact we don't. Our offense is a series-based offense that we can go. We're able to attack inside, outside, backside on most plays, and able to check out of them at the line of scrimmage. And that's one of the beauties of running this thing unbalanced and being able to go both ways on it. And last, you know, though coaches will notice and point out the unbalance, the truth is, especially throughout the course of a 4-quarter game, teenagers forget. Teenagers forget that backside guy is not a tackle. He's a tight end, very oftentimes leaving him wide open on pass threats. So, you know, I think that's I think that may be the hugest advantage, and one of the advantages that I need to work a little bit better at exploiting, because as I'll show you in some film, most of the time when we threw the ball, our Y was wide open. So, you know, as I go through here, I talked about some of the questions that I like to ask our offense. I'll show a little bit of film so we can get into that a little bit. But again, as the first question I want to ask defense is, are we stronger than you? Is my offense stronger than you? And if our offense is stronger than you, there are a few plays that we can hit. So within our playbook, we have QB or B wedge that we can hit you if we're stronger than you. We have belly that we can hit you if we're stronger than you, and we have slam that we can hit you if we're stronger than you. As I talk through our plays, guys, again, I am just a newbie at speaking the language of Wing-T. So as I talk through our plays, some of the play names I'm learning aren't quite the same as what everybody uses. So I talk slam. I believe some wing-T teams call this ISO. It's our backside kind of belly play, and I'll talk through it a little bit. All right, so let's talk through this a little bit. As I said, the first thing we're going to do is to find out if we're stronger than you is come at you, hit you right in the mouth. The first play that we run for that purpose is our wedge. The wedge that I have shown here is a pretty special one. We'll talk through it a little bit. So first thing here, this particular wedge happens to be on a silent count. This is week 8, I believe, and you know, by the time we got to week 8, again, I had a pretty good quarterback with some great experience. He was able to check if he saw, you know, an opening in those A gaps. He was able to check, run that silent wedge, and that wedge was ran with only him and the center knowing. If you look here, most of my guys kind of react late because they were running a different play. Comes up, has a little butt tap, and then we're going right at the teeth of the defense, which, you know, particularly on this play, we gained about 9 yards. We averaged 8-9 yards a carry on wedge alone. My quarterback rushed 91 times for 570 yards or something like that, and every one of those were wedges right up the middle, right at the teeth of the defense. Just talking through this wedge a little bit more, a couple of the key points that we asked for as we're setting this wedge up, and again, this would be, you won't see this as prevalent here because this was a silent wedge. Everybody except for the center and the quarterback were actually running a different play. But what we're asking here, if you can look here, you see we have a pretty good horn going on there. That horn being my offensive line is set a little bit behind that center. So we have a pretty good horn going on there. What we're asking is to wedge off of our center. So our center is the guy that sets the wedge. Our guard should be coming to the hip of the center. The guard on the other side should be coming to the hip of the center. The Y should be coming to the hip of the guard. The tackle should be coming to the hip of the guard on that side. And the way we try to do that is kind of a double team. We've got a push coming from both guards on the center. That center is pushing ahead. We've got a push coming from both guards, and they're really focusing on moving one guy upfield. And it becomes a pretty effective play here. Again, you see those guys kind of standing around because they were thinking something totally different, and when that ball got snapped, next thing you know, here we go. So that's our Q wedge there. Again, the next play we run to determine whether or not we are stronger than you is our belly. We run belly to determine if we're stronger than you, but we also run belly as a staple of what we do. Most often during the course of a game, we're going to try to get our belly going so that we can really establish our B-back, which causes some difficulties with teams because now we've got that B-back established and you're focused on that B-back, not much thinking about when we stretch those edges. So as you look here, so this particular team does not shift to our unbalance. They stay in their regular base offense, their regular base defense, which really gives us a great bubble right there to run this play. What we're asking for here is we should have a down block from this guy, our strong tackle. We should have a down block from our power tackle. We should have kick out here. Our wing should be arcing as if he's going on to run rocket. Our other wing should be faking rocket as well. But again here, you see that bubble that's created by the unbalance. And, I mean, the running back pretty much walks in basically just by alignment. We got a pretty good down blocks there. We got good kickouts. If you look here, my wing on this side, and this was adjustment we made because we were on the goal line. My wing on this side, instead of running a rocket fake, he's inserting and looking for some work inside, maybe another linebacker. And again, that's just an adjustment we can make based on where we are on the field. We were at the goal line here. We wanted to make that adjustment and went ahead and did so. but great play. And again, the unbalanced look, if a team doesn't shift, we are already have them outnumbered. And this kind of shows it perfectly that, again, if this guy were here and this whole group shifted down, now that's a more difficult play. That's a play that they may have had an opportunity to stop, but without shifting, it is very difficult to stop that play. We'll let it run more and more time just to look through it. Great little belly there. So the next play we're going to run to find out if we're stronger, tougher than you, is our slam play. Again, a lot of teams, some teams call this ISO, some teams call it other things that I don't even know, but we call it slam. So here's slam. So here, this team, they shift to our unbalance. They lined up, noticed our unbalance, and you'll notice that they shift to our unbalance. And man, am I glad that they did. When they shift here, the bubble that's created allows us to have a lot of space in there and allows this play to hit. So just blocking wise, what we're telling our guys to do here, we're blocking it right here with our guard and our Y. Our guard and our Y have a decision to make. They have a conversation between the two of them. They're going to make either a jumbo or Charlie call, okay? A jumbo or Charlie call. A jumbo call tells my Y he can flare out, tells my, tells the guard he's to down block. And that's when the B gap there is open, okay? B gap is open. We're going to call a jumbo call. The Y is going to flare out. The guard is going to down block. The other call we can make here is a Charlie call. Let's say that this defensive lineman was sitting right in there. There, we're going to make that a Charlie call there. That's saying that the B gap is closed, so we need to open the B gap. And the way what we do on a Charlie call is my guard, now he's going to kick out, and the Y would down block here. So, if we had that Charlie call on, there'd be a guy there. Depending on where he's at, he's probably going to line up in a 1 there. So when we got the Charlie call on, Y comes first. He down blocks there, and then the guard would kick out on that outside guy. We have our wing to insert and lead, and then the B back is off and running there. So we'll take a look at this play. Nice little play. Now, one thing I would have liked to see happen, my wing back here, instead of getting all the way up, I would have liked my wing back, as he got through that hole, to now open up and start looking for this outside linebacker. The outside linebacker kind of gets a hand on him, but isn't able to make the full play. But I would have loved to have had my wing on that outside linebacker instead of just inserting. But that's one of those things that you can adjust for or not. And this particular play, we did not adjust. So I talked about the few questions we're going to have. First is, are we stronger, tougher than you? The next question I'm going to ask an offense is, are we faster than you? Can my team beat you to the edge? Can my team outrun you horizontally? If so, then we got a few plays that we can run for that. A few plays that we target for to stretch the field horizontal for us were rocket, jet, and a bubble. And as you'll see, rocket and jet we ran pretty successfully. The bubble we had a little bit of trouble with it, but I believe I know what it was. We'll talk through it a little bit. First play, like I said, is our rocket, and here all we're looking to do is get outside you. Again, here's a team that didn't shift to our unbalance. They're in a base formation. They did not shift down here. So it gives us a lot of room here on this edge. So all we need to do is get the edge sealed here the way that this play is supposed to run. One of the downfalls, or not even downfalls, one of the things that we really needed to work on was our line. Up front, there were a lot of times when we were missing blocks and doing things a little bit wrong that we have to fix. And so I'm going to be showing some of that. One of the things I do is I'm going to show you everything we've got. I think when you come to clinics or you're looking at a clinic and the guy's just showing you touchdown runs or the very best plays that they have, I don't know that that's realistic. Me personally, I can learn better sometimes by seeing some of the mistakes that were made. And so, I'm going to show some of that as well. As I said, this is our horizontal stretch play. This is our rocket. So we should have a seal here by our power tackle. My wing should be leading out and picking up the first thing showing. I should have my B-back leading, and then we should have some toss action happening in the backfield. So let's look here. First thing in the game here is a backup power tackle. Didn't get much playing time and was forced to play in this game due to injury. So, he wasn't real confident in exactly what he was doing. So, if you look here, he actually misses that block, right? It was his job to get this edge sealed. He should have attacked this outside shoulder, but he attacks the inside shoulder. Luckily for him, we've got them outnumbered to our power side. We've got them outnumbered, so it allows us to make ourselves correct on these plays. And here's how it happens. My wingback, he notices that the tackle doesn't take the outside man. The wingback takes the outside man, making the outside backer that he was supposed to pick up now needs to be picked up by my B-back. And, sometimes you just got to have special players to make you right. And here's what happened there. So you can see that thing's going to the house, fellas. But there's a few things I want to point out first. So great block coming up here by my B-back. My B-back right here, he was expecting nothing. He was expecting green grass to be able to run because that guy actually should have been picked up by our wing. Wing had to do another job, so I needed two guys to help make us right, and luckily both of these guys were able to make us right. B-back picks up a great block. Then now we've got our strong side guard leading through. Great lead through here, and you see where his eyes went quickly. As he comes out, at first his eyes are on the outside. What's happening on the outside? Here's that guard that I'm talking about there. He's watching those eyes there, seeing what's happening with this player. Are we getting him blocked? Once he realized we're getting him blocked, he gets his eyes up and inside. We're telling our running back to get on his hip and get after him as quickly as you possibly can. As he's running, he's got a great block there. In fact, that's the block that seals the deal. And now my man's off and running. Again, it really helps to have great athletes to help you look better. So as I said, rocket is the play that we like to see if we can test those edges. Here, you'll see we run that rocket, but we run it away from our power tackle side. Playing against Metamora here, a pretty good coach team here in the state of Illinois. So, they see this unbalance and they go ahead and shift to that unbalance. Well, when they shift to that unbalance, that just gives us a advantage to our other side, allowing us to exploit that other side as well. So as you look here again, they shifted. Just to talk through it a little bit, in this particular play, we had rocket right on. When they shifted, it allowed our quarterback to see. They shifted early. Our quarterback seen it, and he was able to check it and get us into a better play. All he did there was he seen it. He saw it. They shifted. He looked back. He said, "Easy, easy," telling our guys, "All right, we're going to do something different." He just said, "Easy, easy, opposite." Right? Easy, easy, opposite just means slow down. We were going to go one way. Now we're going the opposite way, and it really works out here to where we can hit this edge backside. Again, same thing should be happening here. I should have this my Y attack this outside shoulder and get him sealed. My wing should be coming out looking for the first thing showing. My B back should be leading. And not bad. Gained about 5 yards here, which again, against a good team, a good coach team, we'll take 5 yards every chance we get. But that's just that backside rocket weak. Next play we use to see if we can beat you to the edge is our jet sweep. Run pretty much just like the rocket, or at least it's blocked. It's just like the rocket. Obviously, the only difference is the way we're looking to attack this thing. Jet sweep was pretty good to us, and if I'm being honest, I did not use this play as often as I should have to exploit our opponents. Jet sweep was pretty good to us. All right, jet sweep. As you look here, we are unbalanced to our left, the offensive left, the defensive right, and they do not shift here. So again, by them not shifting, we already have the edge on them. We already have them outnumbered because they chose not to shift to our unbalance. Hits that thing running pretty full speed. I've already got a blocker on a linebacker. I've got a guy pulling around to pick up a flashing color, and then I've got one of our best athletes with the ball in his hand. Pretty good play there. Now, I would like to have seen my guard. I would like to have seen my guard as he's getting out there. We'll let this play run here, and I'll stop it where I'm talking. I'd like to see my guard here realize where our numbers are, right? As he's running off here, I would like to have had his eyes inside there and eyes on that man, knowing that that was going to be the threat. We've got man on man here. We've got man on man here. Should be getting man on man here. But should be getting man on man there. Did not get a good block there, and that's the only thing that stopped that play from possibly going to the house. Yeah, so that receiver right there got an earful, because the thing that we ask our receivers to do is you must be a great blocker. If you can't block, you can't play receiver for us. That's just a simple fact of it. So I'm sure this receiver got an earful from our receivers coach, and he definitely got an earful from me during film time. The last play I'm going to show here within our Are We Faster Than You series is our bubble. We did not use this bubble as often as I wanted to. In fact, you'll look here, and this play kind of gets stuffed, and I want to say that I may have called it one time after that, maybe twice after that. Again, as I went through and set this presentation up and started to evaluate our team a little bit, I've noticed a lot of places where I could have been better. And that's one of the greatest things about the offseason, is being able to evaluate yourself and learning some of the things that you can do to be a better football coach. But again, as we set up this bubble here, we come out of our wide package here. That's just where I'm splitting my wings out to where they're slot receivers here. And then we're going to run this bubble. That bubble is usually going to go to one of those wing backs, right? My wing backs happen to be the two of the most dynamic players we have on our squad. So I like to get the ball in those guys' hands in space. And so here was an attempt. We did that here. So as you see, this thing's developing pretty well. The issue comes with how we tried to block it this week. It was a work in progress, but this week we were looking to take our X receiver and make the block on that inside linebacker. We were getting our power tackle, who again is one of our strongest players, but he's also one of our quicker players, right? So I'm not asking some 275-pound big boy to run out and make this block. I'm asking what was a converted running back that converted to power tackle to go and make this block. But again, I'll show you here, we could have still done things a little bit better. So the thing I think would have made this play work a little bit better, there are a few things that we could have done to help ourselves out here. First of all, this receiver. If we were going to ask this receiver to come and block on that inside linebacker, he's never going to make it from the numbers there. Right? In fact, he may never make it at all, but he's certainly not going to make it from the numbers there. So what we should have done was had him inside a little bit more to make it a little easier for him to make that block. And had we done that, it would have obviously pulled in that corner a little more, making the block for our power tackle easier as well. I truly believe if he would have been here and that bubble starts to work, This guy would have attacked inside out, allowing our X to get there and make that block. This guy would have bubbled, and he probably would have turned into the force. So he would have attacked outside in, allowing our power tackle to get a little flatter and to make that block. But again, as I said, I was a little gun shy after we ran it and didn't have much success out of it. It was one of those things that I kind of filed in file 13, hoping that maybe we can bring it back this year and have some success with it. So, as we go through and ask, are we stronger than you? Are we faster than you? The next question is, can we fool you? The plays that we use to figure out if we can fool you are our counter, our slam sweep, and our crisscross. I'll show you a few clips of those plays. Look at here, we're looking at counter. Remember, I talked about we like to pull our strong side tackle and our power tackle when we go counter, and this will show that a little bit. All right, so back to that counter. Again, we'd run that counter from our rocket series, so our wing, our B-back, our backside guys are all making it look, our front side guys are all making it look like we're running, rocket. Then we're pulling with our power tackle and our strong tackle. Great play here. One of the things I want to point out here is the effort by this guy. That's our power tackle. That's a full speed sprint by a lineman, and he's 5-7 yards off of where our running back is. That to me is pretty impressive, because the effort that it takes in order to do that is a huge effort. And if you get guys doing that, running into the end zone with running backs, you've got a pretty good chance of having some success, because there will be times when, simply because he's running down there, he's able to make a block and maybe a touchdown, springing block. So I really appreciate the effort out of this kid there. Next play here, slam sweep. Our slam sweep, remember our slam is kind of that ISO. That slam sweep comes off of this play. Here's one. I've got a better one that I'll show you, but I'll show you this one first. And we like to run this when that outside backer gets nosy. You'll look here, that outside backer gets a little nosy on this play. He's looking for that slam, and our guy goes right along the outside on him. Here's a little bit better one. Now, on our slam sweep play, we should have, and you'll notice here that this is not what's occurring, but what should have occurred was we should have a pulling guard coming to protect. Should have both guards actually should be coming out on slam sweep. We only got one guard there pulling, but pretty good play here. One thing I want to point out here, we tell our running backs to attack in a certain way. We're telling our running backs to look to get up the hash. If the hash is cluttered, then look to get up the numbers. If the numbers are cluttered, then look to get up the sideline. So that's what if you watch our running backs, their vision is kind of looking for those things. As they hit that hole, first thing they're looking for is the hash. Is the hash good? Then they're going to get right up the hash. Is the hash cloudy? Then they're looking for those numbers and the sideline and so forth. So look here. My running back could have stretched it out more, and had he stretched it out more, he probably could have outran this guy. But my guard is looking for the same thing that he's looking for. My guard is looking for hash, numbers, sideline. Guard sees the hash. He gets up the hash, and my running back gets on his tail and just follows him up that hash, which, again, another really good play just based on doing the things that you're told to do. And the last play here within our Can We Fool You may very well be my favorite play. It's our crisscross. For us, crisscross, I know a lot of teams don't run the crisscross because of the reason I didn't want to run it was the double handoff. That double handoff scares the heck out of me. But just through learning a few things. I think, early on at Central, Nate was able to put together a few drills that really allowed this to work out really well. And one of the things that we do that I think allows us to have the most amount of success with this play, and to date, I'm finding some wood to knock on, we've not fumbled one crisscross. Not one have we fumbled with the double handoff. But I think that one of the keys to that is we have our running backs do what we call the table and stop. So that first running back that's getting the ball from the quarterback, I don't know if you can see my hands here, but we're asking that guy to put his backhand wide and behind, and the other hand set as a table, right? So we call that the table and stop. And that's where we're having the quarterback to put the ball initially. So he's going to end up with his hands as far back as he can and a table and stop position. That's how he's going to receive the ball. And by receiving the ball there, it allows him to be able to hand the ball off to our other wing that's coming a little bit easier. Again, this was the scariest thing to me. But we repped it and repped it and repped it. And as I said, we have not fumbled one crisscross. So the best thing I can tell you is if, when you look here, if you like this play, if crisscross is a play that you're thinking, the best thing that we did that allowed us to have some success and not fumble the ball was that table and stop, right? So if you don't learn anything else from this video, you do crisscross, table and stop. Here's a little crisscross action though. So number 3 is going to be the one that first gets it. If you look here, he's already starting to put his hands in that table and stop motion. I would have liked his right arm to be just back a little bit more, but that's still pretty good positioning. And again, that thing comes in there. And one of the keys that I believe on any counter play, and you really got to teach your team is those counter plays should hit as tight as possible. There were times when, so if you look at this one that we're running here, this crisscross, that thing kind of hits about B gap. I think sometimes folks hear counter, crisscross, and they're thinking this thing should get out wide. When we first started running, when we first started practicing it, my guys, my lead blockers and my running back wanted to get out wide, and we really had to work on making sure that they stayed tight on crisscross, because that hole opens up a little bit better when you stay tight there. But yeah, I tell you, I went round and round. It was probably week 4 before we installed this play, and a few of my friends were saying, "Hey, coach, why aren't you guys doing this thing yet?" And I was like, I just don't want to. I just don't like handing the ball off twice, right? I just fear of the fumbles. And then, is it such a great play? And, again, after we started really working on it, really working on making sure the table and stop, making sure that the handoffs are seamless, it's one of the best plays. And, now I only call crisscross if I want a touchdown. Here's another crisscross here. Pretty sharp here. You guys know one of the biggest things that can stop counters are penetrators, right? When you got big time penetrators, a lot of times you don't have time to get those counters off and things could happen. So here's a team, one of the best in our state, Peoria. Peoria won the state championship, I believe, 2 years ago now, and they've been a juggernaut squad for, the last 5-6 years or so. And these guys really come at you. They are an aggressive form of defense, and they just come after you. So if you look here, they've got 10 in the box, 9 on the line. And the first thing you're thinking is counter should not be there. But because we had ran so many plays of our rocket, and so this crisscross actually comes off of our Pirate series. And I've heard a few different names for this. I believe I've heard buck sweep, maybe buck sweep, yeah. But for us, it's coming up. We call ours a Pirate. So this comes off of a Pirate look for us. So we've run Pirate over, Pirate over, Pirate over again, and now the mix up to it is that other handoff. You get that other handoff, things get tight, and again, he was never even touched. Right, and here's a pretty good football team with 9 guys stacked on the line, but because the way we were able to run that play, he was never even touched, and I love it. That kind of goes to the can we fool you? So the last few clips of film I'm going to show you are from our passing game. The last question that we're going to ask is, should we pass on you? Again, I am a run-based team. We prefer to run the football, but if the defense dictates that we throw the ball, we're able to do that as well. You know, basically, we only pass when we're kind of forced to. This season, we passed 61 times for 35 completions for somewhere right around 575 yards. So we don't pass the ball a lot, but when we pass the ball, we like to be effective with it. First play I'm going to show you here is one of our play actions. Every pass that we threw this year was off of a play action. The only pass that we threw that wasn't off of a play action was that bubble screen, but everything else is off of play action. So first play here is our belly pass. First play here is our belly pass. We want to point out to you again, here's our Y. We are unbalanced to the right. Here's our Y. This guy, for 95% of the game, he's blocking. He's blocking. He's blocking. These guys are expecting him to block. But no, stop. So look here. He is 5 yards downfield. There are no eyes on him and no one touching him, right? And that's simply because they've fallen asleep. They are looking at him as a tackle. Guess what? He's not a tackle. He's a ball catcher. So as this play develops a little bit, I would have liked to have had my quarterback throw that ball right now because he's absolutely wide open right now. The quarterback should be throwing the ball. He waits a little bit longer, throws it, and he's still open, right? He's still open now. Quarterback happens to throw him into a little bit of traffic, but he's still wide open 10, 15 yards down the field because no one has recognized him as a passing threat, with the exception of maybe their coaches who I'm sure were screaming, tight end, tight end, tight end. But again, it's too late. Next play we run to figure out if we should be passing against you is our boot play. Boot, again, play action, comes off of our pirate fake. So, you know, pirate, crisscross, boot, all look exactly the same. Those plays, the beginning of those plays and what we're asking our team to do looks exactly the same. So it's hard to decide, wait, are they running the ball to the outside? Are they running that ball a little bit inside? Or are they actually throwing the ball? We're able to do all three of those within each play. Here's a little boot action. Again, pay attention to that tight end. The Y, he's wide open once again and off and running. Again, sometimes it was kind of like stealing. If I wasn't gun shy, I think we would have thrown that ball a lot more. In fact, as we go into this season, I'm looking for an opportunity, looking for ways to throw the ball a little bit more because it is effective, and that guy is more often than not. Last play here I'm going to show you, I'm just showing it because I kind of like it. It's what we call our boot throwback. So all of the action is exactly the same off of our boot. We get this pirate fake. We get our B-back going back to help. We get our wing released. We get our tight end released. And quarterback's rolling. But the beautiful thing I like about this is off of that pirate fake, we actually throw it back to that wing. So if you look here, he's wide open because we've run boot a few times and they're expecting the drag from the drag from the Y or the post from my wing back or the flat from my B back. They're not expecting this back throw here, and he's ends up pretty much wide open. Had my receiver there ran a bit of a better route, I do believe he would have scored there because by my receiver not running a really good route, it allowed the guy that was with him to kind of stay in that zone. I think if we run a better route, we're in good shape there. You know, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope there were some things that I talked about today that could help you out. And if so, please feel free to contact me. I'm going to throw my contact information back up here. Again, guys, it is always football time for me, so please don't hesitate to reach out and let's talk a little bit of football. Can't figure out how to get the contact information back up there, but it is at the front of the video. Again, I am Tim Turner, head football coach at Champaign Central High School. Phone number 217-898-4353. My Twitter is Coach T74_TT. Any of that information, please feel free to reach out and contact me.